here we are on a nice cold November morning in my garden, and in this video I'm just going to demonstrate how I am going to raise an already raised bed a bit higher, to make it a bit deeper, to make it into a sort of permaculture bed. Now, in fact, this isn't my garden, it's the end of a neighbour's garden, which I've put to good use. He wasn't using it, and he's allowed me to put a couple of raised beds and a couple of rows of raspberries. Here you can see the camera's now focused on some containers where I grow some potatoes, because I don't have an awful lot of room in order to grow potatoes, so I make good use of the space I do have, and I grow them in just a taste of them in containers. So just to give you a sense of where we're at, we'll just pan round, and there's the raised bed there that I'm going to make higher, make deeper, in the foreground, in the center of the picture there. And then as we go around, we see that we have another raised bed next to it, which I've already done the job of raising it into a permaculture bed. And in there we've got some chard and some rocket, which is still growing well, and it looks very healthy too. I'm very pleased with the way these beds are going. That's why I'm keen to make them into permaculture beds. And then as we just go around, we'll see there that we have a couple of rows of raspberry canes, which are about 2 years old now, and getting great crops of raspberries. Okay, let's look at the first part of how we're going to carry out the deepening of this bed. You can see to the left of the bed, I'm only going to sort of focus on half the bed so that we can get more of a close-up of what's going on. But you see on the left hand side there, I began to raise the side up. I'll put the other 3 sides on shortly, and in the middle there you can just make out a heap of well composted chicken manure, a very rich source of organic food, and also will help accelerate the breaking down of the other components I'm going to put onto or the other amendments I'm going to put onto to raise the bed up. Well, as you can see, I've put the other 2 sides on now, the other 3 sides on, sorry, to the bed, and we've got about 6 to 8 inches of depth that we can utilize. We may not raise the bed up to its full extent in the first instance, but over time we can build up the fertility in the soil through applying one's homemade compost after making this initial foundation. I'm not going to dig over the previous bed. I've never dug it. I literally just rake over it and plant into it and apply compost, and it's always been very, very good in producing my vegetables. But the reason I want to make a permaculture bed is because I want to experiment with planting vegetables that are going to go to seed and create and then regrow again each other season, and to leave the vegetables to grow year after year in the same bed, hence the name permaculture. This is the well composted chicken manure. Beautiful, beautiful smell to it. Not at all. It's very rich, delicious smell. That's all I can say, really. I just love the smell of it, and it's been well composted down, so it'll just, all it's going to do is give off its rich nutrients to the vegetables that they're going to be planted into it. So I'm just going to spread this thinly. It doesn't need to be a thick layer of this stuff, because it's, as I say, very rich, and you don't need an awful lot of it. So we just rake him over. You maybe see me pushing some of it outside of the camera's range, only because I don't need it all, and as I say, I'm only concentrating on this end of the bed, so you can have a closer look of what I'm doing. Make sure it's getting into the corners. There we go. That's all I'm really concerned about at this particular moment. Okay, there we have now the next layer that's going to go on the bed, and this is what could be termed the lucerne hay. It's not exactly lucerne hay. Lucerne hay is alfalfa. I actually can't find it around my area anywhere, but through my inquiries I found that, or my research, I found that horse feed not being a horsey person, I wouldn't have known this, contains alfalfa. And so what I've done is I bought a bag of horse feed that contains the alfalfa, and in this particular one it's a mixture of alfalfa and straw, which is more than adequate. Alfalfa is a very rich, nutrient filled grass, if you like, and it's full of nitrogen, trace elements, all that the veg need, and when that breaks down it will give tremendous body to your soil, and a great soil structure too, in terms of the humus that it will produce. So I'm going to spread this now in about a 2 or 3 inch thick layer, and then we'll go on to the next component. So let's carry on. Again, I'm just going to spread this around. Might have to add a bit more to it yet. Okay, so you can see now I've not done all of it. I'll carry on with that in a minute shortly, but just gives you a sense of what it's about. We put it in about a 2 or 3 inch layer like so, and then we'll apply the next layer on top of that. So I'll just carry on doing this. Okay, I've spread out the hay across the bed, as you can see there, and just on top of it I've now sprinkled another very thin layer of the composted chicken manure. This again helps to add nutrients to the soil, but also acts as a tremendous activator to get the rotting down process going, and supply food to the microscopic organisms within the bed that will do the breaking down. Okay, at this point too, now that I've got this small sprinkling of the chicken manure on top of the lucerne hay or the alfalfa, I'm now going to just give it a quick water in. If you remember, I remember correctly my old chemistry classes. No reactions take place in the absence of water, but I expect somebody will want to be putting me right on that. But that's what's going to happen in this bed. There's a lot of chemical reactions going to be taking place as the microbes break down the alfalfa and incorporate it into the soil. The worms are going to do a great job as well, taking it down into the bed, and we're going to have a superb medium for growing vegetables in for many years to come. Okay, now we've come to the final layer that I'm going to spread out onto this bed, and that's the composted manure, farmyard manure. It's been well composted down. I'm going to spread it over the bed, and that's going to give that lovely insulating layer over the top of the lucerne hay and the composted chicken manure. It it'll probably get quite warm under there as it begins to give off, as it begins to break down, and building it back into the nutrients that is going to be feeding the soil, which in turn the plants will feed off. Remember, when you're gardening, you're always doing something for the future, and so you've got to be a bit patient. You've got to think ahead. You've got to, as I say on my website at vegetablegardenguide.com, experiment. There's no specific sciences involved with what goes on in these in the beds and in gardening, in horticulture, etc. But it's not. Everything's open to experimentation, to try it your way, because my little micro environment here is different from the one that's in my other beds just over that fence. And so experiment, see what grows best, see how you can develop them, read, gain knowledge, and you'll only get better. So I'll just carry on now after that bit of a preach. Maybe you call it a rant, but it is an exciting time ahead to see what this bed will produce and how well it'll produce. Bit pongy, but that don't bother me because that'll all disappear. Now, what I'm going to do after this, I'll just continue to finish off the bed, and it will be then, come the early spring, be ready for me to start growing into it, growing vegetables in it. One of the things I have problems with around here is badgers get into the garden, and they certainly dug up that bed at one point and shifted the stuff around. But with raised beds, again, they lend themselves to so easily be protected, which I will probably just put some pipes down in the corners, get some sticks and put some chicken wire, attach some chicken wire to the sticks, and then I'll just create a little fence, and I can just pull them out of the pipes, as it were. They'll just be placed in the pipes, just pull them out when I need to get access to the beds, and it'll be no problem at all. It'll also hopefully keep the dreaded cats off as well. I love cats, but not on my beds. And they've got their own litter trays, and I'm looking forward to many years of very, very healthy, tasty, nutrient-filled vegetables. So, happy growing. Okay, this is the bed I completed at the back end of this summer, and then the one adjacent to it is the one that we've been looking at today and how to prepare it. And you can see now that the bed is all prepared and it's all ready to be planted into and to start producing. I hope you find that this video is of some use to you as you go about creating your own vegetable garden, especially raised beds. As you can see, that I grow in raised beds only, apart from going into containers around my patio and around where I can have a space to fit a pot in. I'll put a pot in and I'll grow carrots and some salad leaves and crops like that. But raised beds are so flexible. You don't need to dig them. You don't need to worry about managing them in terms of cats, rabbits, like me, for badgers. They're easily protected by a little barrier that's fitted around and can be taken out, as I explained earlier in the video. And also they lend themselves to being covered with a fleece late into the winter, if you've got some overwintering crops, or for netting, or indeed for making a little a polytunnel out of it, and to grow more frost susceptible plants. So very flexible, Very enjoyable, very easy to maintain, and especially for those of us who maybe have more challenges in terms of our health. I personally have a bad back, and it doesn't take me 5 minutes before my back is aching tremendously, and these raised beds just help me so much to overcome that. So this has been a very amateurish attempt at a video to show you how I do my gardening, and another very rough shoots video production. Thanks for watching.